Hello everyone, this is your host for your stream. I'm going to turn on the Wi-Fi real quick, so there may be a connection blup for a moment. Just trying to make sure I can get you guys the best quality without substantial lag. Hey, there we go. So the Wi-Fi is now popped in. That should help improve the video quality. Hello everyone, this is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only here with another exciting live stream. This live stream is pretty hype, mainly because of the fact that it is the first live stream of February. I'm actually going to be starting a new playlist for the vlogs. It's weird to call it the first live stream of February. It's the first vlog stream of February. I'm actually going to start a new vlog playlist that's based specifically on doing February vlogs. That way we can keep track of vlogs that come out for each month, which is something that I've never done in the past, but it's something I'm going to do specifically for this year. Yo, Kel, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. Right now, I'm in the phase of the vlog where I'm like getting everything set up. So I'm going to be editing the description of the video and typing in the stuff that I did today into the description, and that should go by rather quickly. I am at least somewhat prepared, I say, as I have to move my phone in order to do something that I didn't pre-prepare. But hey, it should go by rather quickly. While I'm doing this, feel free to tell me about your day. While I set up the chat, while I set up the stream, I still read the chat and interact with you guys. So how have you been today, Kels? What have you been up to? I hope you're having a wonderful Friday so far. See, right now I'm scrolling down. I'm going to take that description as is. Boom, 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 boom. So, like I said, right now I'm editing the description of the video. Oh, how's your progress on working on the player cards, the player armor cards, like player armor dual disc, as well as working on your future cards that you've been working on as well? How's your day been? And what are your plans for the weekend? I guess are my biggest questions for you, Kills, while I'm currently working on this. So right now I am setting up the basic stuff. I need to add spaces between the different like numbered points in the description. Do 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 I do. There we go. So I've added spaces between those things. Kel said, my day's pretty good. I haven't gotten a chance to work on the player armor cards yet, but I just worked on them right now. Oh, ballin'. I'm glad that you're able to work on them currently. And I'm glad that your day has been good so far. That's dope. Doom, 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 doom. Oh, I do have a question for you, Kels. How do you feel about these vlog streams, and how do you feel about the fan polls? I've noticed that both recently, at least it feels like, have fallen off a little bit. We used to have a lot more people tune into the vlogs, and the fan polls used to get a lot more votes, but I've noticed that less people have been voting in the fan polls, and less people have been checking out the vlogs. What are your thoughts on that personally? Have you noticed something similar? Do you feel like, nah, that doesn't really seem to be the case? I'd really like to hear a second opinion on it. Meanwhile, I am editing the description still. Because now that I've typed in everything that I've done today, I'm getting the tags in. Also, I just realized the last vlog had tags, but it didn't have the links to buy stuff. So I've now been including links to like my Fiverr and Zazzle and things of that nature in the description of most of my videos, but apparently I forgot to include them there. So I'm going to edit that now. Boom, 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 boom. Not for yesterday. Yesterday, I feel like has already lost its chance to have that in its description. But at least for today, I feel like I can make sure to have that. Kel said, I think things like this just go in waves, you know? Like sometimes a lot of people tune in and sometimes they don't. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Um, I feel like part of it is the schedule because of the fact that I have to do fan polls at 1 p.m. when a lot of people are at school. It's less likely for people to be able to tune in because they're at school. And then the other big issue is that the vlog stream is so late that it's normally around the time where people are already in bed or about to go to sleep. And then Kel said, right now you're just in the low point. I feel like this schedule will work a lot better during like summer vacation for a lot of people when they don't have to focus as much on school. I feel like that'll really sell. But then during that time, I'll probably be like at a job. And then for the job, we'll probably have later fan polls, but around the same time vlogs or earlier vlogs. So I think once I start working, I'll actually be able to capture an audience a little bit easier because I'll have to go to bed earlier, which means I'm gonna have to like film certain things earlier, but I gotta go to work, which means I have to film certain things later, and it should help balance it out a little bit. Right now, I do feel like we are in a rough spot, but I feel like it's due heavily to the schedule of the videos conflicting with the schedule of those who like watch the videos. And then Kel said, yeah, during school breaks is when your schedule works best. I agree. So now I have the tag set up. I need to change it from gaming to people and blogs. And I can hit save changes. There we go, all changes saved. So now the description of this video should be updated with everything that I've done today, as well as links to like my Patreon, Zazzle, Fiverr, Amazon Books, etc. So now that that is out of the way, I will pull up everything that I did today, and I'll quickly go through everything I did today so that we can focus on hanging out and talking with each other. So I played Lego. Oh, real quick before I jump into my day. Kel said, it's not like it's your fault that the schedule's like this. It just be like that sometimes. And that's understandable. Um, I have thought about like trying to push things around in my schedule, but the only thing that I could really see myself doing is making the fan polls earlier. Like instead of them being at 1, having them at a time like before 1. I feel like the issue of pushing the fan polls back, right? Like before 1 p.m., is that people are still at school. Or if you push them back too early, people are either not up or they're getting ready for school, but they don't really have time to participate. Plus, you limit the amount of time that people have to vote. Um, but pushing the fan polls forward, I don't really have as an option unless I did fan polls like at later than 9. It would probably be like 9:30 to 10. You guys did fan polls, and that would give you guys more or less all day to vote, and then you guys could watch like a late night fan poll. But I personally don't think I would want to do that. I think after like a long class, I want to like kind of mellow out a little bit and like exercise and shower. Sometimes I like eat like right after I exercise and just have more time to do that. Maybe like edit a video, stuff like that. I kind of have that time reserved. I could try and flip flop those times, but I don't know. Uh, it would be something that I'd have to think about a little bit more. But that's the only schedule adjustment I could really see myself doing. Feel free to share this video with people that you know are interested in the channel and see what their thoughts are on whether or not the fan poll should, instead of being at 1 p.m., be at like 10 p.m. Kind of like switch and just see how that could like work. That also would be really weird because if the fan poll was at 10 p.m., we would do like the fan poll at 10, then it would end at 11, and then there'd be like an hour break, and then the vlog would be at like midnight. So it'd be like bam, bam, bam on like videos. But you don't get a video early in the day and then a video later in the day. I kind of like the space between the fan poll and the vlog because you get something you can watch early and then you get something you can watch later. But I don't know. It depends on how you guys feel about it. But enough about the schedule, for at least for a moment. I'm gonna jump in and talk about my day real quick. So I played Lego Worlds after the vlog stream that I did the other day, and I went to a new world called Lawless Lagoon, and Lawless Lagoon is the shit. I really like Lawless Lagoon. The area is filled with research scientists who are trying to investigate like a giant monster that's like left a footprint in the ground. Yo, anything for subs? Welcome to the streams. Good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. So there are these research scientists who are trying to research like a giant monster who's like slammed his foot into the ground. There are zombies everywhere that you can't kill with normal weapons, which means I can't kill him at all, which means I have to run away like a little bitch. There are like escaped criminals, and there's a sheriff who's like, I need your help to like shoot out these criminals. And I have a gun. I didn't know I had a gun, so that's been really interesting. There are a bunch of skeletons who used to just wave hi at me, and they were really nice, and now those niggas box me. And I don't know what changed, but the skeletons don't trust me anymore. There's like a weird goth girl that's around, and she wants me to find a bunch of science equipment. I don't know where I can get that. But it's definitely one of my favorite worlds so far. There's like an underwater segment where you can go underwater and you can talk to fish, and they all want other fish, and I don't know how to collect fish for them. And you can ride a shark onto land and bite people with the shark. I also unlocked a whole bunch of secret agent stuff, which is how I got the gun in Lego Worlds. And I also have a hover jet that can shoot laser blasts, but it's really hard to aim. I don't know, it's just really fucking dope. Kel said skeleton gang gang. Lego Worlds is like my shit. So far, I've been really liking it, especially Lawless Lagoon. I also ranked up in Lego Worlds. Um, but that has been pretty ballin', not gonna lie. I might customize my character again soon and play some Lego Worlds, maybe tomorrow when I wake up. I feel like after this vlog, I'm gonna play some Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I think that's what's really been on my mind. When I woke up, oh, sorry, after I played Lego Worlds, I went to sleep, you know, as humans do. So when I woke up, I exercised, showered, and then went to breakfast with Madde at Dunkin Donuts. While we ate, I introduced Madde to Pretty Much It, which is a YouTube channel I've been watching since earlier this week. It's like Game Grumps, but they do movie commentary that's funny. And we watched Pretty Much It video about a movie called The Boy, in which a woman is hired to babysit for a kid, but it's not an actual kid, it's a porcelain doll. So the Pretty Much It video goes over a good portion of the movie, but it doesn't show you the twist of the movie. You only get to see their reaction to it. They cut away from the film to show like the face cam of them reacting. And me and Madde are like, holy fuck, what was the twist? Like, like what was the thing that made him like freak out so hard? Because he doesn't spoil the twist with his reaction. You can just tell whatever it was, no one saw it coming. So Maddie's like, "Oh, we gotta watch The Boy," and I'm like, I don't think we're ever gonna actually watch The Boy. I think it's more likely we're gonna just Google whatever the twist was and then just see what happens. Kel said, "Oh my gosh, I watched that video like not even 30 minutes ago." Oh, ballin'! I didn't know that you watched Pretty Much It. What are your thoughts on the channel? I'm actually like a pretty big fan of it so far. Or wait, did you watch Pretty Much It, or did you watch The Boy, like the movie that the episode was about? So Maddie has officially dropped out of college, which I find interesting. Kel said, I think it's a good channel. Oh, I agree, most definitely. If you haven't subscribed to Pretty Much It yet, but you're a fan of stuff like Game Grumps or Mystery Science Theater 3000, it's essentially if those two things had a baby that was better. So yeah, I definitely agree that Pretty Much It is a good channel. So Maddie has been wanting to move to Costa Rica. It's been like a dream of hers, something that she's like really wanted to do. Kel said, "Do you just want me to tell you the twist?" Nah, nah. I like the fact that right now me and Maddie don't know the twist, so I imagine the next time me and Maddie hang out, we have a scheduled hangout for Sunday. We'll probably Google it and then we can have the surprise like together, kind of thing. But thank you for the offer. I appreciate it. Maddie's had this dream of moving to Costa Rica for a while. It's one of the main reasons why me and Maddie broke up, because of the fact that I'm probably gonna have to move to Washington D.C. to work for the government, and Maddie plans on moving to Costa Rica for her career. And I can see myself working for the government while also living in like a foreign country. I just don't see that happening, especially in the field that I'm working in. So me and Maddie are going our separate ways, but Maddie has now put her foot down on the Costa Rica thing, pedal to the metal, just revving up, ready to go. So she's quit school so that she can focus her finances on getting back to Costa Rica, focusing more on work and making that money so that she can have enough money to move to Costa Rica and continue her education there, where she can become a certified interpreter and also immerse herself in the culture. So Maddie has taken big steps in order to try and move to Costa Rica. So that's been interesting. Um, Danica still isn't feeling well. Earlier today, I said the odds of her and I going out on a date tomorrow are becoming increasingly slim. We'll have to see. Later today, like way later today, I talked to Danica again, and she's still not feeling well. So we've officially rescheduled the date that we had planned for Saturday to now be next Saturday. So that's the thing. So I won't be going on a date with Danica this Saturday. The world's smallest violin. It's rescheduled, so it's not really a bad thing. We'll just do it later, and I still have a class with Danica, so it'll be fine. I'll just see her later. So I looked up some information on Hit's moveset in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, and I am excited to play with Hit at some point with the guys. We didn't play Dragon Ball FighterZ today when I hung out with Colin and the guys, but I really want to. Jiren recently got dropped in the Season 2 pass for Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I know that I'm probably not going to buy Jiren or Videl because I normally don't buy DLC for Dragon Ball FighterZ. I just play with the characters that are already available. But when it comes to Jiren specifically, I don't really fuck with his counters. So Jiren has three counter moves. One that counters high and mid attacks, one that counters low attacks, and one that counters projectiles. Yo, 25X, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Don't forget to smash that like button. Truly appreciate it. So Jiren's three counters sound good if you don't know about like Hit's counter. So all three of Jiren's counters involve you like hitting a button and doing like a quarter circle. So it's not in that order. You do the quarter circle and then a button, which doesn't seem like much. But Hit has a counter that you just hit X, and that's all you do, and it does the counter. Now, why does that matter? For Jiren's, you can do a counter that'll stop like a high or a medium attack, but your opponent can still hit you with a low or a projectile, and you get screwed over. Essentially, all three of his counters don't counter any of the things that the other button does. So you can punish Jiren very easily by just hitting something that his counter doesn't counter. And all of his counters involve like an input that involves you like having to think about which one do I need to do right now, and then I can't just hit one button, I have to hit like multiple things. Where with Hit, his counter counters projectiles, medium attacks, high attacks, and lows from one button. You hit one button and it counters all of those things. And I'm like, why is Jiren just bad then? Because essentially, three of Jiren's special moves are used up by something that Hit can do with a single button that can be punished but can't be punished as easily. Or it would be better to say you have less options to punish Hit. So all of Jiren's grabs, I mean not grabs, all of Jiren's counters can be punished by doing a grab or a super move. And Hit's counter is the same way. It can be punished by doing a grab or a super move. Jiren's, each of his have an additional two punishments that Hit's counter doesn't have. So Hit's counter can never be punished by a high, medium, low, or projectile attack, where Jiren's attacks each have two different punishments, whether it be like a high, medium, and a low, or a high, medium, and a projectile, or a projectile and a low, stuff like that. And I'm just like, why is Jiren's moveset just so shitty compared to like Hit's one move? Because Hit has the one button counter, and he has a bunch of additional non counter special moves because he doesn't need to split them up between multiple buttons. And Jiren doesn't just get the liberty of hitting one button to do any of these counters. He has to hit the button and do the like stick flick, and you have to pay attention to what your opponent's doing and make sure that you do the proper counter and response. Where with Hit, you just have to be like, is my opponent hitting at all? Is my opponent doing a grab? Is my opponent doing a super? If the answer to the first question was yes, and the answer to the following questions were no, I can just hit X and I will counter them. Where with Jiren, you have to be like, okay, is my opponent doing a grab? Is my opponent doing a super? Is my opponent doing a high attack, a medium attack, or a low attack? Okay, which one do I have to hit? I guess I gotta hit triangle. So I gotta hit triangle, but I can't just hit triangle. I gotta do the quarter circle thing too. It's just stupid. It's just, you're thinking way too hard to do something that Hit can do with way less thought, because Hit's if then statement is just so much shorter and it's just so much more efficient. And I wouldn't be so upset if Jiren didn't come out after Hit. Like, Hit has been in the game since the very beginning. He wasn't like a DLC extra character. So why is it that Hit has a better counter than a counter character who gets introduced later? I don't understand it. And Hit's one move, I think, is just better than Jiren's other three. I've heard different arguments for it. I've heard that Jiren can deal more damage with his. That's expected because of the fact that Jiren, his big thing is that he's strong, and I've heard that Jiren's normals deal more damage than most other characters. So if Jiren's didn't deal more damage, you'd be like, why? Like, why wouldn't it? So that's something that's expected from Jiren, and I'm glad that he does it, and that would make it better, at least in the category of damage, than hits. That's like one category. The other thing that I've heard about Jiren's counters is that they last a little bit longer. So the idea of this is that hits counter, he has like an aura appear around him for like a split second, and if you hit him during that split second, he counters your attack. But if the counter is timed wrong, hit can like activate the aura and then your hit hasn't landed yet, so then his aura disappears and then he gets hit. So the idea of Jiren's lasting longer, which I don't have evidence for to necessarily say that Jiren's counter lasts longer. If Jiren's does indeed last longer, the idea is that you can do it, and then if your opponent's hitting you, as long as the hit connects before your thing wears off, and if your thing has like a shorter time to wear off, then bam, he can like counter or whatever, right? Kel said, "Sorry if I don't chat that much. I'm working on the Player Armor Dual Disc." No problem, Kels. It's good to have you regardless. So if you do the counter with Jiren and he stays in the counter position for longer, that's not better. That is not better at all. And the reason why that's not better is because you only want to counter when you know that you're gonna like get the counter anyways. You don't want to be fishing for counters and have counters that last longer. And the reason why is because of punishment window. So while you're doing a counter with hit or Jiren, the counter is just gonna like stay there. You know what I mean? Like it's not, you can't just block, is what I'm saying. The counter takes away your ability to defend yourself by any other way than just the counter. So you're not going to like hit out of it, you're not going to block out of it. Until your counter animation stops, you are countering, and that's all you can do. So why does this matter? If Jiren's counter animation is longer, sure, it does mean that if your opponent is in the act of hitting you, you can be less precise with your timing, meaning that you can do the counter like a little, I don't know. It's weird to say a little later or a little earlier because of the fact that if your counter lands, then of course you did it on time, like if that makes sense. Um, I guess it's less of a guessing game whether or not you'll counter because if you see the attack incoming, you don't have to time it just right to make sure that you like counter it, is what I'm gonna argue. Is like supposedly a benefit for Jiren is that you can do that. Where with hit, because it's such a short period, you have to like make sure you do it like right on time or you'll get hit. It's stupid because you have a larger window where you can't defend yourself. Like I said, all counters can be punished by a super or by a grab. So, regardless of like whether or not we're talking about hit or Jiren, the longer your counter window is open, the longer your opponent can punish you appropriately with a super or a grab. But in Jiren's case, it's worse because he has more ways to get punished. So Jiren can get punished by like a high, medium, low, or projectile attack, respectively, depending on which counter he's doing and what the punishments are, as well as all of those counters being punishable by a grab or by a super. So Jiren having a longer period to where his counter is active, supposedly, also means that Jiren has a longer period of which his counter can be punished, and he has more ways for his counters to be punished, and he has three different counters, and all of those counters aren't universal, meaning that they can't block against all the, well, counter against all the things that like hits counter can block against. It's just bad. I don't like Jiren's counters um, based off of that. I feel like dealing more damage than hits is one thing, but having a longer window doesn't necessarily make it better. And the longer window is a supposedly thing. The more damage thing I think is true, but it's also a supposedly thing. I don't know for sure because I don't know the damage numbers on Jiren. But from what I do know about Jiren's, it just seems like a more complicated version of Hit's counter spread across multiple special moves. I just don't like it. But enough about Dragon Ball Fighter Z. I'm excited to play with Hit at some point with the guys. Colin earlier today picked me up and we walked around the CTC looking for Gerard. We ran into Jeremy Fisher, my favorite philosophy teacher, and he invited me to visit him in his office hours to come by and talk. Colin and I talked about Smash Ultimate and Dragon Ball Fighter Z for a bit. Colin has been practicing with Wolf in Smash Ultimate, and he's surprised at all the like new combos and moves that he's learned. Real quick, I'm gonna take a sip of water. Mm. I'm glad that Colin's been really enjoying the game, and that Colin has been playing around and like learning additional combos. It's always good to see your friends get better over time and really like get into games and like try and improve. So I was really glad to hear that Colin was practicing with Wolf. And his opinion on Videl in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, he mainly talked about her appearance. He felt weird that Videl has like the short haircut as her default haircut, but it seems clear to me from watching Globku and I believe Dotodoya, excuse me, play Videl in Dragon Ball Fighter Z, that she does have like a longer pigtails version for her character model that is available as like an alternate costume. So I feel like Colin's complaint about Videl's like shorter hair has already been addressed, and I feel like that's something that Colin will appreciate a lot. So I think that's cool. So we rode to Publix after we talked in the CTC and we picked up Gerard, and then after that we went to Collins. Kel said, "By the way, why did your friend drop out? Sorry if that's too personal." So he's asking about the Madde thing that I mentioned earlier. By the way, you guys may be noticing that I'm now referring to the live chat while I read what I do today, like what I did today. The reason why I started reading the live chat again is because I felt like me not reading the live chat while going over my day was causing people to like enter the stream wanting to hang out and then forcing them to wait like 20 or 30 minutes in order to like go through my whole spiel just for them to like interact with me. And I feel like that's not cool. It makes more sense for me to not read the live chat when I'm like with friends and doing the vlog live stream because of the fact that if I'm like with friends, it's kind of boring for my friends in the room for me to like talk about my day and then jump in the live chat and then talk about my day and jump in the live chat. But when it's just me and you guys, like via the stream, I feel like it makes it very impersonal for me to not interact with you guys. So I'm gonna try to interact with you guys in the live chat while going over my day, unless I have like other friends with me, in which then I'll try and focus on going over my day and then talking with you guys in the live chat, if that makes sense. But about Madde and why she dropped out of college. Madde dropped out of college because she's already applied to a school in Costa Rica. She took a test where they're like, "Yep, you've been accepted. Like you can like come in, but if you do, it'll cost money because you have to move to Costa Rica and you have to like live in Costa Rica and be able to sustain yourself in Costa Rica." So now she's in the process of I have to like raise money in order to move to Costa Rica and enter the school where she can learn how to become like an interpreter and like master Spanish while also getting engrossed in the culture so that she can be a Spanish interpreter in Costa Rica. So that's her goal. It's in order to like push her education forward in a different way. And she feels like she doesn't need UAH for that because she feels like she'll get a better education in Spanish, learning it in a Spanish speaking country, immersed in a Spanish speaking culture, if that makes sense. So that's the main motivation for why Madde is dropping out of UAH, if that makes sense. It's also been a dream of hers ever since she studied abroad in Costa Rica to live in Costa Rica. Um, so after we picked up Gerard at the CTC, we went to Publix and then went to Collins. We always go to Publix to pick up some like DiGiorno pizzas, and then Colin charges the guys like a small fee in order to then enjoy the pizza. I say small fee. I understand why Colin splits up the pizza by having everyone pay him like $5 or so. Uh, and is it $5? I think it used to be two, but now Colin buys a more expensive pizza. So maybe it's up to like $3 or $4 now that he charges everyone to like partake in the pizza. But I still think it's kind of weird, only because of the fact that you can get like a Little Caesars pizza for like $5. You know what I mean? Like, if everyone wanted to, for a little bit more than whatever Colin's charging, whether it's $2 or $3, you could just go to Little Caesar and you can just have a whole pizza, just hot and ready, and you don't have to wait for it to get cooked in the oven or anything like that. And now the big push is that Colin gets the like pizza that's made at Publix. So that morning, someone took dough and they rolled it out and they put sauce on it and cheese and like pepperoni and they cooked it in a stove. Well, I guess they didn't cook it in a stove. That's the whole point. So they didn't cook it in a stove and they put it in a box and then you buy it and you cook it in your own stove at home. But if you go to Little Caesars for $5, there are people who have already done that and put it in a box and it's already hot, so you don't have to cook it and you just pick it up. And you can get that pizza for much less. Because I think the pizza they get from Publix that's like freshly cooked is like $10, but you have to like cook it yourself. I said freshly cooked, more like freshly prepared. You still have to cook it yourself. But if they just went to Little Caesars instead, someone already freshly like made and cooked that, and now it's available in a box for you for $5. So I don't understand like Colin's like system. And even if Colin charged the same price but bought a Little Caesars pizza, he could charge like a convenience fee and make a better profit off of it, but less work from him because he can just pick it up already prepared. It's like carry out fresh pizza, pretty much. You get the convenience of home thing from having them ready in the freezer, but that doesn't matter in the Colin case as much because he's not buying them days ahead of time. He buys them the day of the hangout. So it's already like day of the hangout. It's like if you're already going somewhere to pick it up, you can just pick up a Little Caesars pizza for less money. I don't fully understand the method. But anyways, we picked up pizza at Publix, and then we went back to Collins. We played Smash Ultimate with Avery, CJ, Gerard, Max, Dozer, Colin, and I. And I've been getting better at getting KOs in Smash. I have been getting so many KOs that I've become the KO leader after multiple matches. So in Smash, they'll show like a medal at like the top corner of your portrait, and the medal will have a number next to it, which is the total number of KOs that you've gotten playing like Smash Brothers. Yo, Ryan, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. Ryan said, "Okay, KO," which is a show on Cartoon Network. Okay, KO is pretty good. It's been a minute since I've been able to watch that, but I do remember really enjoying the show when I was like watching it continuously. And then Ryan said, "King KO." So I've been getting a lot more KOs in Smash Ultimate, and my friends don't really seem to care. They're like, getting KOs don't matter because we play stocks. So the big thing in Smash is you're able to play to where everyone has like a limited number of lives, and whenever you get KO'd, you lose a life. And then after you lose so many lives, you're out of the game. And then it's last man standing. It's whoever is the last character with lives wins. So you can get more KOs than everybody else. But at the end of the day, if you're not the last one standing, you lose. Even if that person knocked out less people, um, they got knocked out less than you. Like essentially, it gets like role reversed, where the idea is not to knock out people, but it's to not get knocked out. Where if we played on timed battles for Smash Ultimate, it wouldn't be about how many times you got knocked out as much as it would be about how many times you knocked out other people. Though that's not really true. So with KOs, Smash Ultimate has like a KD set. Yo, Nani, welcome to the streams. Good to have you. It looks like Nani changed his profile picture. Ryan said Jet lost the playoffs but had the best stats. It's more or less that kind of thing where in Smash, you get -1 point every time you get knocked out, and you get +1 point every time you knock someone else out. So sometimes we'll have games where you end the game, and I'll have like a lot of like KOs. Sometimes I'll end a game and I'll have lost. So I'll have a score of like 2, but I would have knocked out like 5 people and then been knocked out like 3 times. So I'll have a solid score of 2. but the person who won will have a lower score than me. But because we're not playing timed battles, it doesn't matter because they lasted until the very end. Um, so we play a mode that doesn't necessarily play toward my strengths. And whenever I talk about like my score and I'm like, oh, I feel really good about that game, even though I lost, I'm glad that like my kill death ratio has gotten better. People are like, that doesn't matter because you can just like cheap shot people to win, da na 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 na, like to get like a higher score. But then I'm like, but it doesn't make sense to praise Last Man Standing because Last Man Standing, you can just camp. You can just not fight people, wait for people to like get hurt, and then once it's just you and one person left, then you fight for real. You know what I mean? So both you could argue that you don't really have to work to be the winner because you can just not fight anybody and then be the last man standing. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why they don't credit getting like a good score, but they credit last man standing. Um, let's see. Nani said, "Did it change already? Like your profile picture? Mm-hmm. It definitely does look different." Kel said, "Well, even if you don't win, you can always get the moral victory." Well, I don't think it's like a moral high ground thing, like to say that like, oh, I did something morally right. Because moral I normally think of as like good or bad, like good or evil kind of thing. Like what they're doing isn't immoral exactly. It's just like different. And then Ryan said, I got caught up on the My Hero Academia manga. It is lit, fam. I'm glad that you're enjoying the My Hero Academia manga so far, Ryan. Please, no spoilers. I don't keep up with the manga. Nani said, why isn't Ryan playing D&D? And then Ryan said, but it matters to Jet. Um, what matters to me? I got a little bit lost. So why isn't Ryan playing D&D? Um, hmm. Colin doesn't seem to be a big fan of Ryan at all. So I would say that probably is why. And then Ryan said the scores, like the scores matter to me. So the scores matter to me, but not in a shit on sense. So I would never go up to someone and be like, you didn't do well because you got a low score. Like, I would never say that, right? But I would pat myself on the back for getting like a high score, if that makes sense. So scores don't matter in the idea of I'm gonna like shit on someone in first place who got a lower score than me because the game mode is based around not your score but last man standing. So I would never use it as a shit on. I would just use it as like a pat myself on the back if I did well, and if I got a low score, then I would be like, oh, I need to do better. Even if I won the match, right? Even if I was the last man standing, if I had a shitty score, I'd be like, oh, I should have gotten more KOs. I should have like worked harder. You know what I mean? Um, but I find it interesting that my friends want to discount the score because that's just an unnecessary thing. They don't have to go like, that's shitty. It doesn't matter that you got like a good score because you weren't the last one standing. Because I'm not trying to say when I have a higher score that I'm like better. I'm just saying that I'm getting better, if that makes sense. Like I'm getting better at the game and I'm getting better at getting KOs than I used to. That's more or less where I'm coming from. Then Nani said Colin, and then he said, lol, why does he like him? And then Ryan said he doesn't. And then Nani said, is it because Ryan is negative Andy? And then Ryan said, I met him like once, and I think he was fighting with Zach more than me then. So Colin and Zach have beef because they had an argument about Batman Arkham City. Well, really about the Batman Arkham games. And Colin hit up the position of an argument where he says that the Batman Arkham games are overly praised because they're just like okay superhero games. That was more or less the argument. He was like, most superhero games are shitty. So because the Batman Arkham games are okay, then that means that the Batman Arkham games are considered to be such great marvels and amazing games, but in reality, you're just comparing them to like other like shittier games. And then when you compare Arkham City to just other games that aren't superhero games, that it's not very good. That's where Colin comes from initially, I think. And then Zach tries to argue, no, like the Batman Arkham games actually are legitimately cool, and that it's not just comparing the Batman Arkham games to superhero games. Batman Arkham games in general are just good games, but it eventually gets to the point of Colin saying that Zach's opinion is objectively wrong. And I feel like this is something that Colin does a little too often, where he'll just go, objectively, something that's subjective is wrong. And that doesn't make logical sense just based off of like the definition of words. So real quick, if we define like objective means of a person or their judgment, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions, and considering and respecting facts. So something objective has to be like factual. Where if we talk about like subjectivity, what is subjective is based on or influenced by personal feelings, taste, or opinions. And whenever you're talking about something like video games, it's like based on your opinion of what makes a good game, your taste of what makes a good game, and your personal feelings on what makes a good game. You can't really factually say that a game is good or bad because good and bad in their own rights are based on your opinion. There is no factual good or factual bad. It's how you feel about something. So, because Colin will take the standpoint of objectively, he'll say that. He'll say the word objectively, your opinion is wrong. People fundamentally will disagree with Colin because definitionally that doesn't make any sense. Colin can very easily just change that one word and his argument could be fine. Except it wouldn't, because you can't really subjectively be wrong because it's based on your opinion. With subjectivity, you can kind of never be wrong if it is an opinionated thing. If you had a subjective opinion on a fact, is where it gets weird. Like if you say, in my opinion, the sky is red, it'd be like, what? Like I don't know what you mean by that. But if you said, in my opinion, I don't like the color of the sky, then that's fine. Like that's actually an opinion. But your opinion shouldn't dispute like an actual fact. I mean, I guess it could. You could subjectively. I mean, I don't understand that as a concept. We're getting a little too lost. The point is, Zach and Colin got into a thing because Colin started saying that Zach's opinions were objectively wrong, and that doesn't make any sense. And then Zach is like, well, I guess I just can't talk to you because you're just not making any sense. And then the two kind of had a falling out, and they don't fuck with it. The reason why Colin doesn't fuck with Ryan is because of some famous person. Gerard mentioned a famous person, and Ryan was like, that famous person isn't a very good person. And then Gerard supported that famous person is a good person. And then Ryan just was like, no, he isn't. And then Gerard told Colin about it, and Gerard and Colin have similar perspectives on this famous person. And then Colin goes, well, Ryan's just being a pseudo intellectual, and that's what he calls Ryan all the time. But I don't really think Colin and Ryan have really talked that much before, and that's his opinion of Ryan. So Colin doesn't like Ryan, and that's the big thing. That's the story. I wanted to go over the objectively wrong thing mainly because that came up between me and Colin recently, talking about Mortal Kombat, and it was kind of weird. We didn't have a weird falling out, because I know Zach and Colin just don't fuck with each other at all over that. So it's not a thing where me and Colin don't fuck with each other, but that does happen sometimes, and it is weird, and there's not much you can do about it, because Colin just doesn't accept the objectively wrong thing, as it's just odd. Um, Nani asked, did they fist fight? Uh, no. So Zach and Colin didn't fist fight. They didn't take it into the boxing ring. Nani said, but why he doesn't like Ryan? He said, Ryan seems cool, but looks like the guy from Hangover. He said, but not no more because he cut his hair. Ryan said, I'm back. Had to switch to phone. Okay, no problem. Nani said, Colin seems like a weirdo to get mad at people for their opinions. I mean, it's just how Colin sees things is interesting. Because I feel like he doesn't know what he's saying when he says objective. Um, I don't know, because it's just a definitional thing. People are arguing about the semantics of what he's saying, not necessarily the point. So I think Colin, when he gets in those arguments, is just trying to say that he thinks something is bad, that he disagrees with someone's opinion. But instead of Colin just saying, I disagree with your opinion for the following reasons, he says, I disagree with your opinion because your opinion's objectively bad, which makes Colin's argument bad because it defies the definition of what objective means. And then people will argue at Colin's argument itself, saying that it's flawed by that point, and then Colin will more or less ignore that argument and say, "Stop saying that that's wrong because that's right. Focus on my points." And it's just kind of odd. But I wouldn't say that Colin's like a weirdo. I just feel like Colin doesn't understand that that's odd. And then Ryan said people can have different opinions or interpretations of facts. He said everyone is a pseudo intellectual. Nani said, seems like Colin doesn't have many friends. That's not true. Colin has hella friends. Everyone that I just mentioned who is playing like D&D and playing like Smash and like hanging out and talking with Colin is Colin's friend. Colin has plenty of friends. He has friends over all the time. We hang out. We all still like love Colin and hang out with Colin and enjoy hanging out with Colin. It's just Colin sometimes can get a little heated and he doesn't always understand like the nuances of the definitions of words and arguments. But Colin's a good person. He's a great person. If he wasn't, I we wouldn't hang out with Colin. But Colin is a good guy at heart. He doesn't mean anything bad by it. He's not doing it like maliciously. He just when he has a difference of opinion, he can get kind of like hot-headed and he can kind of miss the point of what the other person's trying to say due to like definitions of words. It's just a semantic thing. So this isn't an attack on Colin. I'm not shitting on Colin or anything. This is just us having disagreements on occasion due to just little things in Colin's personality and how he like sees fights. It's weird to say sees fights. Ryan said people can have different opinions or interpretations of facts. That is true. I just have trouble. I have more trouble with that when it's different interpretations of facts. I guess it's based on like theory at that point. You break it down into like, well, you think it's like this for this reason, but I think it's like this for that reason at that point. I don't know. That one if you gave me an example, I think I could think about that a little bit better. I keep trying to use the color of the sky as an example in my head. I'm like, what? I just don't get that. Ryan said, even intellectuals, when they speak outside their expertise, like famous person Jordan Peterson, who got famous for lying about a Canadian Bill of Law and is generally a scumbag and with fishy friends. So that was the person. Ryan is not a fan of, I need to reread his name, Jordan Peterson. While Gerard and Colin are fashy. Oh, not fishy. You actually meant to put an A. I thought that was like a misspelling. And then Ryan said like fascist. So Colin and Gerard are like fine with Jordan Peterson. Ryan is not a fan of Jordan Peterson. I have no horse in that race because I don't keep up with politics. I don't really keep up with famous figures. It really depends on what it is. If we're talking about like comic books, I keep up with comic book characters, but I don't keep up with like politicians or stuff like this. This isn't my like forte. But because Ryan and Gerard had a disagreement on that, um, Ryan's Gerard feels like Ryan in a way is a pseudo intellectual, and because of this, he feels like Colin also feels like Ryan is a pseudo intellectual, and that's mainly just what's happened. Colin, that actually is really interesting. Colin's dislike of Ryan, if you break it down to like its most fundamental level, is that Colin doesn't like Zach, and Colin likes Gerard. That's actually the only reason why I think Colin doesn't like Ryan. Colin doesn't like Zach, and Ryan is Zach's friend, which means that Colin, by association, is not like a friend of Ryan. Sorry, I said that wrong. Colin doesn't like Zach and Ryan are friends. So by association, Colin doesn't like Ryan because Ryan and Zach are like related. Then Colin does like Gerard. Gerard doesn't like Ryan. Colin doesn't like Ryan through the association of his friend Gerard not liking Ryan. I feel like that's more or less it. The only reason why Colin doesn't fuck with Ryan is because of his relationship with Zach and his relationship with Gerard. So I think if Gerard didn't dislike Ryan and if Colin didn't dislike Zach, Colin and Ryan would get along initially. I think something would happen eventually, like they get in an argument, and I feel like that argument would cause like a disruption and maybe they wouldn't fuck with each other. But it's yet to be a situation where Colin and Ryan have argued directly at each other. So it's actually solely through other people. And then Dookie Dropper said a whole bunch of random stuff. Then Ryan says, it is just based on reputation. And then he said, I'm not sure Gerard dislikes me enough to use the word dislike. I mean, I don't think Gerard would use the word dislike, but I do think Gerard would just call you a pseudo intellectual, which I don't think has a positive connotation. Like, it's an implied dislike at that point. You know what I mean? Because I just feel like Gerard wouldn't fuck with you as much. Maybe Gerard would be comfortable in a hangout situation, like we're all just hanging out, but I'm not sure if Gerard would want to ever talk with you about a topic. You know what I mean? Then Nani said, ooh. Then Ryan said, but it is also true. Sorry, I lost context when you said, but it is also true. So do you feel like Gerard does dislike you, but he wouldn't say that he dislike you? Oh, he said, but it is true that Ryan is a pseudo intellectual. And then Nani says, does anyone dislike you? So is that question directed toward me? Does anyone dislike me? I'm sure. Most definitely there are people who dislike me. I can give you multiple reasons why people would dislike me. Um, Past reputation. I know that like throughout my years of like growing up and like grade school, if you knew like Younger Jet, I do think Younger Jet at periods was an asshole for no reason. Like when I was younger, I would do things um, based off of like how I was treated back in like earlier school. So when I was really young, I was like a really nerdy kid, and I had a cousin who went to school with me, and because of our last names, everyone knew that we were related. My cousin kind of acted kind of stereotypically ghetto, and because of that, people through association would be like, "Oh, so Jet thinks he's cool, and he thinks like he's like this like ghetto like hot shit kind of guy." But I'm over here like talking about superheroes and writing stories and shit. So I would get bullied because people thought that I was cool. Well, it's not that people thought I was cool. People thought that I thought that I was cool. People thought that I had an image of myself similar to the way that my cousin had an image of himself. And because of this, um, I was like given a reputation that didn't belong to me. And I only learned this when I left my elementary school. There was like a zoning change because my mom had to move, and because of that, um, I like eventually asked the kids who bullied me like, why did you like treat me that way? And then they were like, because they more or less said because you're black, because your cousin's black, because your cousin acts black, and because you're related to him, you must act like him, kind of thing. And it felt so weird because if they had told me back then that they bullied me because I was like nerdy, I would have like understood that because I am nerdy and I do like write stories. But the idea that I was like bullied not because of who I was, but because of how other people were who were like of the same race and related to me, I thought that was shitty. Um, but that actually like really changed my perspective. In fifth grade, I didn't like talk to anybody. That was like a really big thing. I had like one person who I talked to. It was like my friend Jalen, and like that was it. And that was when I was at a new school. And then once I got back into middle school, I reintegrated with a lot of the people that I had classes with, like back in elementary school or whatever. And from that point on, I do think throughout like middle school and even a period of high school, I was kind of a dick. But I think I was kind of a dick because of the fact that I was treated differently, like in elementary school. And then from that point in middle and high school, I just like kind of didn't fuck with people. But I didn't fuck especially with black people in middle school and high school. And I think the reason why is because I was tired of being associated with being like ghetto and being black, even though I wasn't being ghetto and I wasn't like doing anything like pretending to be cool or like trying to be like really outlandishly ghetto. So Ryan was like, Jet is racist. Pretty much younger me did treat other people of like the same ethnicity, like other black people, like differently. I would just try not to fuck with them as hard as I could because I just wasn't a fan at that point. I was like, wow, like multiple years of my life were shittier because of association, and I just don't want to. I'd rather not. It was a hard like pullback. Um, I've gotten past that now, and I don't do that anymore. But I do feel like that did hurt my earlier reputation, and I do feel like that's carried somewhat into college. So people who did know me from back in middle school and back in high school, I do think remember that, and because of that, they're like, mm, I don't vibe with Jet because Jet used to like be like weird about that kind of thing, and I understand that. I also went through a phase back in like middle school and high school um, where I used to like slap girls' butts and shit like that. Just like inappropriate stuff that like you shouldn't do. And I think the most asshole thing I did when I was like younger in terms of like girls, I used to go up to like girls and go like bronze, silver, gold, or whatever. Like straight up like rape girls. That's horrible. Like you just shouldn't do that to people. You're like degrading people for no reason that you don't even know by immediately comparing them to their peers. What that does to someone on like a self-conscious level is just really shitty. And I recognize that, and that's in large part why I don't do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Um, so I recognize that me back in the day made like some shittier choices, and because of that, that has followed me now and has affected like my current day reputation from other people, and that's understandable. And there are plenty of things that I do now that I feel like people don't fuck with. I think certain people think that like my behaviors are weird. I definitely have an eccentric personality where I'm very hype. I like to get in front of people and like talk and like smile, and that's not necessarily socially cool all the time. I've heard people rumor that like I was like a stoner because I'm like happy all the time. You don't need drugs to be happy all the time, but I've heard people like say stuff like that. I've heard people um, critique the fact that I'm like eccentric, talking about how like that in its own right is just like socially off-putting, and it's just odd. Um, but I understand, different strokes for different folks. Different people just don't really care about like that high energy aesthetic. Some people don't fuck with the fact that I'm like friendly to everyone, that I like try to like smile and wave at people. People think it's like weird for you to do that if you don't truly like know the people that you're smiling and waving at. Um, so do people dislike me? Yeah. Do people have plenty of reasons to dislike me? Yeah. So that's my answer to your question of, dude, like, do people dislike you? There are definitely people who like don't fuck with me. The Nani said, I see, so they're racist. And he said, because you were black, what the fuck? And he said, so white people bullied you? So if we go through all my bullies like throughout time, because I have had multiple bullies, uh, early school from like kindergarten to fifth grade. Well, it's not to fifth grade. Fifth grade, I didn't have any problems with bullies because I went to a new school and I didn't talk to anybody. Who the fuck can bully you at that point? You're just kind of like a nobody. So I would say kindergarten to fourth grade, it was mainly like it was white people. I'm trying to see if I ever had a black bully during that time. I did have a female black bully, Tamara, but Tamara's circumstance was a Yu-Gi-Oh card thing. So Tamara, she was female and she was black, and the bullying was based around. She showed me her Blue Eyes White Dragon Yu-Gi-Oh card right before PE, and then we had to like separate in order to like do our exercises or whatever. So she's like, hold on to that card. I'll like come back and get it once we like go outside or whatever. So I like slip the card into my gym shorts or whatever, and then we go and like do our exercises, and then we go outside. And she's like, "Oh, where's the card?" And I reach in my pockets looking for the card, and I can't find it anymore. And from that point forward, from like whatever year of school that was, maybe like first or second grade or something like that. From that point until like fourth grade, Tamara didn't fuck with me. Now I see Nani reacting like, "What do you mean, like female black bully? A female though?" So she would just get other people to fuck with me. So I've received like wedgies and shit where she just told other people to do stuff. So just because you have like a bully like to antagonize you doesn't mean they have to be the ones to do it. I once got in an altercation with her where she used to do martial arts, and also as a kid, and even now, I don't really fight people. So she like grabbed me, and then I got like kicked in the face, which that story surprises a lot of people. But like I got held down and like kicked in the chin or whatever. Um, but that was just something that happened. And my friend Ryan, not this Ryan, but a different Ryan, like came up and he like helped like put a stop to that. But that was my bullying between like kindergarten and fourth grade was mainly people thinking I was ghetto and essentially making fun of me because they thought I was ghetto, even though I don't do ghetto things. And then I actually do a lot more ghetto stuff now with like the way that I talk and behave versus when I was a kid, which I just didn't. Um, and then the way that I got bullied, other than that, was over the Yu-Gi-Oh card thing that never got resolved. Then in middle school is when bullying kicked back up, and that's when I got bullied by black people, which is interesting. So back in middle school, they had like assigned tables for people, and for like the assigned seating, um, I ended up sitting at a table that had like a bunch of other black kids, and that would be the table that I sat at with like a few of my nerdier friends. Middle school is interesting because it's the inverse of kindergarten to fourth grade. Kindergarten to fourth grade, I got bullied by like white people who were like, "You're acting ghetto, you're acting like black or whatever," even though I don't or didn't at the time. I act much more ghetto now. In middle school, it was black people saying, "You're too nerdy. You do like all this like nerdy shit and you're into superheroes, so that makes you like uncool." It's what I expected back in like kindergarten to fourth grade, but you're getting it now in like middle school. Um, and I used to like end up getting in like arguments with them. At one point, I like spat on a kid who was like making fun of me, but mainly because he made fun of like me and my friends, and it would be regardless of what we talked about, they would like find some unnecessary reason to like pick and shit on us. The kid that I spat on had kicked one of my friends out of a desk during class. It was really weird. But it was a thing where we had like free seating where you could kind of sit wherever you wanted. And the kid normally sat in the desk where my friend was sitting. But because it was a free sitting situation, it didn't matter where you sat. So he like told my friend like to get out of the seat, and my friend was like, "I'm currently like using the seat. I'm like doing something. There are like so many other open seats." And homeboy like physically kicked him out of the seat, and that was like really annoying. Um, but yeah, middle school it was like getting bullied by black people. Um, High school I didn't have to worry about bullying or anything. By that point, I think we were past that, but that was really weird. But let me scroll up a little bit. I feel like I missed a few things. Let's see. Nani said, "So white people bullied you." Then Ryan said, "Jet is racist." Then Kel said, "Top 10 anime backstories." Then Ryan said, "Top 10 school shooter backstories." Then Nani said, "Lol, Ryan, that's messed up, but true." Not true. Kel said, excuse me, Jet used to be a thought, but now he's not. I did used to be like a little too weird with the slap girls on the butt thing. That actually started from hanging out with one of my friends at a football game because I was walking around with him, and it was around the time where you're like hitting puberty or whatever, and he was pointing out like all these girls that he thought was attractive. And while we were walking around, I walked past a girl, and my hand like you know how you'll like walk and you'll move your arms when you walk. My hand like accidentally hit a girl like on her butt, and we quickly realized, me and my friend, that that was like a totally excusable thing that no one says anything about. Like if you accidentally do it when you walk by, no one has a hard reaction because everyone rationalizes that it was an accident. And we were like, exploit in the system, that means you can always just accidentally like hit girls on the butt. And being like 13 or whatever, it's like, oh, that just suddenly seems like a good idea. It's not a good idea. Don't do that to people. Don't like objectify people for no reason. That in its own right is like a form of bullying, and it's not cool. um but yeah, old Jet used to be a thought. That shit's gross. Ryan said Jet is emo Peter Parker from Spider-Man 3. Then Kel said, I used to be the worst type of gay person. He said, like the kind that thinks they're special because of their sexuality, but now I'm chill. Interesting. I like it when people can look back on themselves and see their flaws and then be like, but I've moved past it and like, here's how. So I appreciate you sharing that story. That's cool. Nani said, what the fuck, a black female bully? A female though, lol. Then Ryan said, Jet deserves it for losing her blue eyes white dragon. And then Nani said, wedgies, oh my gosh. She says, I've never seen that before. I used to only see them in fiction until they happened to me. It is a real phenomena, and it you just pull underwear up. I mean, it happens. I'm sure it's happened to you not from another person, from like walking around and your underwear like gets stuck. That actually hasn't happened since I was a little kid. I don't know. Now that I'm starting to talk about it out loud, I don't remember the last time I got like a natural wedgie. You know what I mean? But yeah, wedgies are a thing. It's just your underwear riding up, and someone can just force that to happen. So wedgies, that is a legit thing. Kel said Blue Eyes isn't even that good of a card anyway. So like dabs while a load bass boosted sound plays in the background. um, so I mean, keep in mind this is a Blue Eyes back when I was like a little kid. So this was like before 5D's era. Um, and I'm not sure if even GX was a thing. So we're talking like original series Yu-Gi-Oh! Blue Eyes. So Blue Eyes back then was like a way bigger deal. It was like on the show. It was relevant for like the cartoon at the time. It was a bigger deal, I think, that she had a Blue Eyes at that time. Ryan said it was then and is now, but not in between. And then Ryan said, did you spit in his eye? No, I didn't spit in his eye. I wasn't like sharpshooting. I'm not like Hawkeye with the spit. Then Kel said, I used to be bullied by two girls and one guy. It wasn't really bullying, it was just me not knowing how to take a joke. But me and one of the girls are cool now. That's always good too, when it's just like a weird misunderstanding and you end up working through it and through it get like a new friend. So that's always great to hear. Nani said, cool. He said, so Nick got murked by a girl named Takesha. Tamara. Uh, you somehow made her name kind of islandy because it had like tiki in it. But yeah, um, so that whole bullying tirade was just based off of your question of, do people dislike me? Yes, two reasons. People dislike me for what I've done in the past, like a negative reputation that I've had, and people dislike me for my eccentric and weird behavior that I practice now. Would I argue that more people dislike me than like me? If that's the case, I have no way of knowing. In the adult world, people don't necessarily do bullying in the same way. So I think anyone who doesn't like me doesn't fuck with me. There are people that I don't see. There would be people who I would like maybe hear whispers of. Because there have been a few rumors about me since I've entered college. But whenever I hear about those rumors, I hear about them from my friends, and they just are like filling me in on like what's going on. But no one ever directly confronts me if they dislike me. That is something that doesn't really happen. Um, I used to know someone on campus who like didn't like me, and it was very clear, and like their behavior and like what they would like say about me and like how they would like look at me, but that is no longer a thing. Like now when I see that person, it's a smile wave, you go along your business, and if they dislike me, they haven't like made that like clear that they dislike me. Um, in like the last couple years, I've only had two people tell me that they disliked me to my face, and both people were talking about how they used to see me, which is interesting. One was the old Gabby that I used to date. She when I broke up with her, she told me that before we started dating, that she didn't like me and that she used to like make fun of me with her friends, but she didn't know that I was the same person that she was making fun of because I used to run to the bus after school, and she used to make fun of how I used to run to the bus. And then one day, at like after I walked her to her bus, I ran to my bus, and she realized I was the same person, and she stopped doing that. And she tried to pull it as an ultimatum card. She tried to say like, so if we're breaking up, maybe I'll just not like you anymore and just like bully you again, which I thought was weird. But that was like one, and then the other one is the most recent Gabby that I dated. Um, she said that she didn't like me before we dated because I had like a massage club thing in college. So in early college, I started this thing where I was like, "Hey, come on down. We'll hang out like at my dorm or whatever," and I would like give people like massages. And it wasn't like a weird like sexual thing. It would be a thing that I did. I did only do it with girls, but it was like a voluntary thing. Like if a girl wanted to do it, they could come down to my place. I give them a massage. We'd hang out, talk. They would like play games or whatever. But she was like, I thought that that was like creepy and like a weird like sex thing, and I didn't fuck with that. And I'm like, no, no, like I'm not doing like weird shit with it. It was more or less getting better at doing massages over time. Now, I still do like the massage club thing more or less with like Maddie, and it doesn't have to be weird. You can just give someone a massage. Now, would I give a guy a massage? I'm not as interested in that. You can take that however way you want, but that doesn't mean that the massages are inherently sexual or anything like that. Clothes on, just doing massages, doesn't really matter. Let's see. So let me scroll up a little bit, see what I missed. So then Ryan said, I dislike Jet for sleeping on the floor. I do sleep on the floor. That is a thing that I do. I find it more comfortable than beds. People have asked, why don't you do like an air mattress or just like a firmer mattress? The floor is free and it's as firm as I need it to be, and I don't have to blow it up for air, and I don't have to take a mattress to like a new place where I live. Wherever I live just needs a floor. I can slap a couple pillows on that floor, a blanket, and I'm set. No matter where I go, it's not hard to find a place to sleep that's comfortable for me. Carpet or hardwood, I don't necessarily fuck with linoleum or tile. So I do have preferences for floors, but that doesn't seem hard to accommodate. Let's see. Then Kel said, just so you know, Jet, I just made the art for the player cards. Ballin'. I'm dope. I mean, I don't know why I said I'm dope. I'm hype. Nani said, I've been boxing since I was 12, so I never got bullied unless they wanted to catch these Joey daddies. Is that the name for your hands? Nani said, imagine sleeping on the floor. I do sleep on the floor. Ryan said, I have confronted you. He said, hey, doesn't need to imagine. I am telling you, I dislike you to your face because you sleep on the floor. Is this really to my face? This is like through the internet. Then Ryan said, too many Gabbies. Then Nani said, what the fuck, Jet? That's a good play. It's interesting for you to say, what the fuck, Jet, and then say, that's a good play. Are you referring to that's a good play as in when Gabby was like, I'll bully you if we break up? Because that's not a good play. I don't. That doesn't. Who would be like, oh, well, then I guess we gotta get back together or else you'll bully me? I think that'd be really weird. Then Ryan said Jet be sitting on too many people. He says it is totally weird. Then Nani said, thanks, Jet, for not doing it to guys, or else I would see a rainbow, Jet. Then Ryan said Jet is sexist because he won't give men weird massages. And Nani said, no, that you give massages to just girls. Oh, that's a good play. I'm not interested in touching dudes, but I am interested in getting better at massages. I've used to like do the massage club thing back when I was dating old Gabby. And I made it clear to Gabby that I like gave my friends massages and stuff like that. And she never like cared. It was never a thing where she was like, I'd prefer if you didn't do that, or oh, I'm not comfortable with that. She was like, whatever. Like you can do whatever you want. Um, but I always wanted to give old Gabby a massage back in the day. I would like give Maddie massages like back before me and Maddie were a thing, and I'd be like, hopefully I can get better to where I can like give my significant other like a really good massage. And I never gave Gabby a massage. She just never was really like down for it or like interested or like needed one. We would just hang out and like watch stuff. Um, but that is interesting that I never ended up giving her one out of that. And then, but that was part of what I wanted. Part of what I wanted was to get better at giving massages so that I could give her a nice massage. But that just never came up. And then Ryan said Jet is interested in touching women confirmed. And then Ryan said Maddie, his ex-wife. And then Nani said, why is there a lot of Gabbies? And then Ryan said, because Jet is weird. I don't think it's because I'm weird. I just happen to date two girls named Gabby. And then I have one friend named Gabby who's German Gabby, who's Gabby spelled with one B. So there are just three Gabbies. It's not like a complex mega triangle super duper Gabby setup that exists. It's just one more. This is three of them things. Three Gabbies. Not weird. And then Ryan said because Jet is weird. Then Kel said Jet gives a massage to a dude. Oh, I'm gay now. And then he said JK lol. And then Ryan said a web of Gabbies. The fucking Spider Man of Gabbies. Ah, this is the water like popped in my eye. Nani said next will be Gabriella. Well, right now I'm trying to get things popping off with Danica, but Danica's sick, so we weren't able to have a date this Saturday. But we've rescheduled for next Saturday. Other than Danica, I only have one other girl that I've like talked to a little bit, but I don't know. Then Ryan said the water spat in your eye, more or less, yes. So other than that, there's this girl Michelle who I've been talking to. We matched like on Tinder or whatever. Michelle is kind of dope because she's also into comic books, but she hasn't read them in a long time. So she used to read comic books like 3 years ago or so, and she's interested in getting back into comics. So we're thinking about doing like a comic book date where we kind of like hang out and we just like read comics together and like talk. So right now, Michelle and Danica. Then Ryan said Michelle is the name of my sister. Ryan, I don't think that I hit up your sister on Tinder for a comic book date. I think your sister would have told you. She would have been like, this is your friend. I'm gonna go on a date with comic books. So no worries, Ryan. Also, I think I would recognize. I don't think I would recognize your sister actually. I feel like I've only seen her like a couple of times, so I wouldn't be able to be like, "Oh, this is Ryan's sister." So pretty sure it's not your sister. And then he said, "My sister is in high school. Definitely not your sister. Pretty sure Michelle is like in her 20s. She's either the same age as me or older. I currently have my Tinder set to be like, you either like are my age or you are beyond my age. Because I am more interested in like an older woman or someone of the same age as me than a younger woman. Because I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, I'm ending college, I'm starting my career, I'm gonna make like some big life choices. I'm looking for someone to have like a long term, like real relationship with. Uh, and then Ryan said Jet is not a pedophile. Confirmed. That's a solid confirmation. Can confirm not a pedophile. It's weird to have to say that. Mm. Let's see. Where was I when talking about my day? Oh, so in D&D, I got a pair of Minotaur testicles as a part of the god my character is building. So in Dungeons and Dragons, my character is collecting like religious relics and trying to put them together to create like his own god, because he's trying to test the limits of magic to see what magic is truly capable of. So he has this setup, and then Ryan said, "Hey, are the testes?" So now I have like this spear that has like the divine essence of a fairy, and then wrapped around that sphere is a relic of like a god of like that world, like that's a rosary, and the rosary is tied to that sphere with the hair of the son of a god, and then that spear has been stuffed into the like severed ball sack of a minotaur and then sewn up and then put in a mason jar and like closed. And that's the god so far that my character has built. And whenever people refer to my god, or I refer to my god, I now say, D's nuts, because it now makes sense because it's Minotaur testicles. And then Ryan said ball sack of the Minotaur. Um, so that's what's currently happening in D&D. I'm glad that I've made progress on the god that I'm building, and that I can now refer to it as D's nuts in conversation, and it makes sense. So that's a plus. After playing some more Smash Ultimate, once we finished up D&D, Max took Gerard and I back to our respective homes. Then after that, I talked with Danica. She said she wasn't feeling well. We rescheduled the date. Exercised, showered, live stream. So now we're caught up. Now I've finally gone over everything that I did today. But I'm not done yet. If you guys have any more questions or any more discussion topics, say them now so that I may address them in the vlog. Then after that, I'm gonna play some Dragon Ball Fighter Z, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, because I want to learn more about how to play hit and get hits combos in. If you guys tuned in earlier in the stream, I went on a large rant about how I feel like hits combos, not combos, but counters are better than Jiren's combos. Counters, dang, I keep saying combos. Ryan said climate change is real. Me and Ryan took a whole weather and climate class together. So yeah, we learned about it. There's science behind it. There's a reason why people talk about climate change. Um, I'd be willing to listen to someone's argument that said that climate change wasn't a real thing. Um, if they were to make like a compelling argument, I would try to find evidence against them, if I could, and just have like a real discussion. Nani said story time with Jet. Kel said, you could add any characters to Fighter Z. Who would you add? Oh, if I could add any characters. Super Garlic Jr. I really like Garlic Jr.'s moves. I feel like he would have a weird set of like grab based supers and grab based special moves. So it focus on like trapping your opponent in the dead zone and then spitting them back out, or trapping your character like your opponent into like a small little jar or whatever, and then crushing the jar. So with Garlic Jr., it would be based on increasing your power with like the Machio Star or whatever and shit like that. I just feel like Garlic Jr. would be a really cool character. Super Garlic Jr., number one, first pick, Fighter Z. I'm trying to figure out who else I would want. Because Super Garlic Jr., I'm ready for him. I really want him in the game. Other than Super Garlic Jr., maybe Cocoette. Cocoette would be a similar vibe to Garlic Jr., though. She creates these force fields that are essentially like alternate dimensions, and she could have moves that focus on trapping your opponent in the force fields, manipulating the force fields like Key Blast, so using them to like essentially have a long distance projectile grab, and then manipulating that Key Blast to maybe slam it into the ground to cause your opponent to bounce off the ground, or slamming your opponent into a wall, to cause a wall bounce, or pulling your opponent towards you so you can smash your way through like the force field and like knock them away, doing shit like that. I think Cocoette's weird force field alternate dimension Key Blast would make for an interesting mechanic for the game. Um, I really liked this one character from the Tournament of Power who's like this weird half chicken bird dude. And his thing is that he was getting stronger over the course of the fight. And he has a transformation where he has like a weird, like extra bulky form. But if they could make that a mechanic, that would be really cool. Like the way that his character works is that the longer he's like on screen, the higher his stats go. So he would start with lower stats than most characters, and then as he progressed, he had the potential, as long as he lived long enough and stayed on screen, to become a little bit stronger than most characters. But it was about keeping that character alive for as long as you can to be able to access that greater strength, as well as giving him additional special moves the longer that he's on screen. Maybe giving him his own meter that fills up the longer he's on screen, and giving him levels to that meter to give him access to new stuff. Can't remember his name for the life of me. Uh, Tournament of Power participants, bird guy. Because he's my favorite character. Dang it. I typed in TOP instead of Tournament of Power, as if like Google was gonna understand what I was talking about. Tournament of Power. I don't know how I'm gonna find it. Cool bird dude. That's the main thing I'm gonna say. So let's see. So those I guess would be my top three. Cocoette, right? Uh I just saw something very interesting that I'm gonna address in a minute. But Cocoette, Garlic Jr., and the bird guy. I don't remember his name, so of course I wasn't gonna remember it. It starts with a G, I think. Trying my best to find it. Dragon Ball Super. Really don't. Oh, Ganos. Yeah, Ganos is his name. There we go. So if you Google Ganos, he was one of my favorite Tournament of Power participants. His whole thing is just he gets stronger over time. That's it. And Roshi was afraid that he was going to get so strong that he was going to become like stronger than like Goku and Vegeta. Um, so that's who I want. I think he is fucking dope. Um, so let me scroll up. Ryan said that his dad doesn't think climate change is real, and he says that his dad's argument is. Wait, are you saying that your dad's argument is hilariously weak, or that your dad believes that climate change is real, but that its effects are hilariously weak? Then Sadiq said monkey. Then Ryan also said monkey as an emoji. Then this is interesting. Sadiq posted like black man face and then like a man emoji equals monkey, but it depends on what live chat you look at it in. Because on my phone, it doesn't do a black man face, it does like a yellow redheaded woman face, which I feel like does not have the same interpretation as what he was trying to say. Then Ryan put a monkey. Then Ryan said that God wasn't real. To which then Sadiq said every creation has a designer. To which then Ryan said, not true. The arguments. That's going in a really weird direction that I'm not touching with a 10.5 foot pole. Hashtag Dr. Seuss references. Fucking the Grinch. Mm. But does anyone have any additional discussion topics, questions? Totally open to like an AMA or just talking with you guys. If you guys don't have any more discussion topics, then I'm probably gonna start up Fighter Z, have a Fighter Z stream where I just like test out hit, trying to figure out what I can do with hit, maybe like think of some combos. And then if I don't play Fighter Z or if I like get tired of playing Fighter Z, I might play Lego Worlds because Lego Worlds has been a blast so far. Really been digging it. Ryan said Jet won't touch it because it isn't a middle school girl's ass from 10 years ago. Gross. That sounds very bad, especially out of context. It was very gross. Mm. But yeah, probably going to play some Fighter Z as hit, do a live stream. But I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and watching. If you like this video, make sure to smash that like button, favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. Ryan said, not a pedophile confirmed. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only. Logging out. Peace, and thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate it. I wouldn't do these streams if you guys weren't interested in them, so I do dig the fact that you guys do take the time to watch these streams, to talk with me, to participate in the fan polls, to vote in the fan polls. It means a lot. I do this for you guys, and I appreciate your participation. Kellis said, if yesterday is today's tomorrow, what day was yesterday? If yesterday was today's tomorrow, then that implies that yesterday is tomorrow. And then Ryan said, there is no tomorrow, only today. Interesting. But anyways, thank you all once again. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, logging out. Peace. Excuse me. And stay tuned, because Fighter Z is coming up next.